Please, ma'am, just a small roll for my daughter. I know we don't have enough, but I promise I'll come back and pay the rest.
No, sir. We throw that away. The bakery worker said it loud enough to shame him. The poor father swallowed hard, holding a small coin in his palm. Behind him, a tall man in a dark suit paused mid-step. The whole shop didn't know it, but the Mafia boss had been listening. The bakery sat on a narrow street that smelled of warm bread and old asphalt. Morning light slid through the glass and landed on rows of cakes like gold on treasure. Strawberry glaze, chocolate swirls, little candles waiting to be lit. Everything in that shop looked like celebration. But the man at the counter looked like he had forgotten what celebration felt like. His name was Daniel Brooks. He was in his early 30s, slim from skipping meals, shoulders bent from carrying too much alone. His jacket was clean but worn at the edges. His hands were rough, not from laziness, but from work that didn't pay enough. He kept his eyes down because the world had taught him that looking up too long could hurt. In his pocket was a folded, drawing in crayon, stick figure girl wearing a crown beside a big round cake. Over the cake, she had written "Happy Birthday, Lily." She was turning 6 today. Daniel had promised her a birthday cake weeks ago, back when he still believed one extra shift could fix everything, but life didn't bend for promises. The factory where Daniel worked cut overtime. Rent went up. The gas meter blinked red. The fridge stayed half empty. And the money he saved for the cake got swallowed by a doctor visit when Lily's cough refused to leave. Still, came to the bakery at opening, the way a man walks into a storm hoping it might spare him. He wasn't asking for a fancy cake. He wasn't asking for kindness. He was asking for what people threw away. "Is there any expired cake for my daughter?" he said softly. "Something you were going to toss? I can pay a little." The worker behind the counter was young, pretty, and tired in a different way. She had seen desperate faces before, and over time she had learned to harden herself to keep her job easy. She looked at Daniel like he was a problem. She didn't want to touch. "No, sir. We throw that away." She said it like a rule and a judgment at the same time. "You can buy a slice if you want. Minimum $5. Daniel opened his palm and showed the coin. It looked smaller than it should have in that bright shop. "I have $1.20. Please, it's her birthday." She's been talking about cake all week. A woman in line sighed loudly. A man near the bread rack shook his head and smirked. The air turned sharp with the kind of public silence that is louder than any insult. The worker crossed her arms. "Can't give away expired. Food. Health rules. And if I do it for you, I'll have people lining up every day asking for free stuff." Daniel nodded like he understood, even though his heart was cracking. He wasn't angry at her. He was angry at the world that had brought him here with a coin, and a promise he couldn't keep. He tried again, quieter this time, almost ashamed to be heard. "It doesn't have to be expired. Just something small, a piece from yesterday. She won't care. She just wants to blow a candle." The worker lifted her chin. "Sir?" I said no. Daniel closed his hand around the coin. His throat tightened. He could feel eyes on him like heat. Hated that his daughter's birthday had turned into this moment on a public floor. He turned to leave. That was when the tall man in the dark suit stepped forward. He didn't look like the other customers. His shoes were spotless. His coat fit perfectly. His face was calm, almost cold, with eyes that didn't rush anywhere, the kind of eyes that made rooms behave. 2 other men stood near the door, quiet, watchful, not pretending to browse. People in the city knew him by whispers, not by name. Mr. Romano, the Mafia boss who owned half the docks, half the warehouses, and most of the fear. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence did the work for him. He had walked into the bakery for coffee and a box of almond pastries, nothing more. But he heard the father's question. He heard the word daughter. He heard the worker's tone. Something old inside him stirred. Romano had grown up hungry. Real hungry. The kind that makes sleep feel like a trick and winter feel like punishment. He had been a street kid once, sleeping under bridges and stealing bread when he couldn't bear the ache in his stomach. He remembered begging for leftovers outside restaurants, being chased away like a stray dog. He remembered the way the world looked when you asked for something small and got crushed for it. Those memories didn't make him soft. They made him dangerous. But they also left one thin line in his heart untouched. The line that pulled toward children. Toward people who were trying. Romano stepped beside Daniel, not in front of him. That mattered. He wasn't showing power over the father. He was standing with him. He looked at the worker. "How much is the smallest cake you have?" The worker's eyes widened when she realized who he was. Her voice shrank. The mini vanilla is $25. Romano nodded slowly. "Wrap it." The worker moved fast, hands suddenly trembling. She took a cake from the display, the best one near the front, and placed it in a box, like it was an offering to a king. Romano turned to Daniel. "What's your daughter's name?" Daniel blinked, stunned. "Lily. She's 6 today." Romano glanced at the cake box, then back at the worker. "Put 6 candles on it and a small card." "Yes, sir." Right away, Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. Pride fought with disbelief inside him. He wasn't sure if this was kindness or another kind of trap, sir. "I can't." Lifted one hand gently, not a threat, a stop. "You don't pay me back with money." Daniel froze. "You pay me back by going home and making your little girl smile." Romano's voice stayed low, steady. "The world is hard enough. Don't let her feel it today." The shop went silent in a different way now. The smirks disappeared. The sighing woman in line looked down at her shoes. Even the worker's face flushed. With shame, Daniel swallowed, eyes burning. "Why are you doing this?" Romano's gaze softened by a fraction. "'Cause someone once threw me a piece of bread when I was a kid, and I never forgot what that felt like." He didn't say more. Men like him didn't explain their hearts in public, but the truth was simple. He saw a father fighting for a small light in his child's day. He couldn't stand watching the world stomp on it. The worker returned with the boxed cake, now topped with 6 candles and a tiny card. She handed it to Romano first. Hands shaking, Romano took it and placed it in Daniel's arms. Daniel held the box like it might vanish. It was warm through the cardboard. The smell of vanilla drifted up, sweet and real. Romano leaned closer so only Daniel could hear. "Take her to the park after. Let her run. Let her laugh." Ow. "Today is not for sorrow." Daniel nodded, tears finally spilling. He didn't hug the man. He didn't speak big words. He just held the cake, held the moment, and whispered, "Thank you." Like it was a prayer. Romano gave a small nod back. Then he turned and walked out the way he had walked in, quiet and controlled. His men followed. The door closed softly behind them, manned the bakery. Breathed again, but it didn't breathe the same. The worker stood frozen behind the counter, staring at the empty space where Daniel had been. She saw herself through a mirror she didn't want. A person who had chosen rules over mercy. She turned her face away, ashamed. The woman who had sighed earlier stepped forward and left a 20 on the counter. "For the next kid who comes in hungry," she said quietly, and walked out without waiting for thanks. One by one, the line softened. No speeches, no drama, just a quiet shift like a tide turning. Outside, Daniel walked fast, clutching the cake box tight against his chest. The street felt brighter than it had an hour ago. It wasn't suddenly rich. The rent didn't disappear. Life wasn't fixed in a snap butt. For one day, his daughter would feel loved, not lacking. For one day, her wish would come true. Back in their small apartment, Lily opened the box and screamed with joy. Her eyes grew wide at the candles. She jumped into her dad's arms and laughed so hard her cough disappeared for a minute. Daniel watched her with a full heart, realizing that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. Far across town, Romano sat in the back of a black car, looking out the window like a man lost in thought. He wasn't thinking about control or money. He was thinking about a little girl blowing out candles somewhere, safe for one night. And for reasons he didn't say out loud that mattered. Some people expect monsters to look like monsters. But life is messy. Sometimes the man the city fears is the same man who remembers hunger and refuses to let a child feel it on her birthday. If this story moved you, Comment where you're watching from and what you think you would have done in that bakery. Your thoughts on mercy, pride, and the quiet ways kindness can change a room. Subscribe for more cinematic stories about silent heroes, unexpected turns, and the small moments that carry big meanings.